just came back from work. And I'm gonna make myself relax, but first I wanna talk about Greenland, the European Union, and of course the USA. So this is quite trendy right now. We talk a lot about it because it's a very big thing. It's a very big shift in international relations and international law and everything, and that's quite crazy. That the ally that the European trusted the most, like the United States of America, start to become like a threat and kind of like just not trustable, same as the Russians, eventually the Chinese. And it came from sovereignty, of course. So of course, France got a background in colonialism, so colonization happened. We thought it was over, so a new kind of colonization is gonna happen from the US towards Greenland. Of course, we don't want that to happen. Eventually, I would say it can be an independent country handled by the Inuit by themselves. But then, because of a long history, which was a colonization in the Middle Ages, same like exploration, colonization, aka by the Vikings, the Danish of today. So it belongs to Denmark. If it belongs to Denmark, it belongs to the European Union. If it belongs to the European Union, it means it's concerning France. That's why I'm talking about France as well, because it's not a territory from France, but if it's a territory from the European Union, France would have to protect it in case it's attacked, or just invaded by the United States of America and technically all the other European members, like all from the European Union. So I'm not talking about the UK, but the UK has something to say about it for sure because they're in the zone. But the European Union is the most concerned, and France, we have technically, I insist on this, the support of the other countries from the European Union to prevent an invasion of Greenland. So it's kind of the best shit test ever for the European Union. We will see what it is made of, which I think not so much, but let's see. Maybe I ask for the European Union to surprise me how you brave to stand up against the USA, and technically you have the potential to be brave because you have the potential to be strong. So there are reasons to be brave, and so there are reasons to be strong, of course. And we should not forget also that France is directly attacked by Donald Trump. It's because it's like resistance to Trump's ambitions for Greenland, also because France has a nuclear weapon as well. So now it's like a Cold War between the US and France about Greenland, because France is representing the European Union, but the rest of the European Union doesn't have the atomic bomb. So it's going to be a Cold War between the US and France. France, technically backed up by the European nations, who may regret their weapons, all their military industry was dependent on the American one, except France military industry, which is independent. And it's a tradition from Charles de Gaulle. Charles de Gaulle, after World War II, which was, to be very honest, all the bad memes about France, the white flag and all, like, got humiliated. It's true. Let's face it. During World War II, we had Adolf Hitler, the Nazis, and everything were like obsessed in getting their revenge against France after the Treaty of Versailles. While France thought World War I was over, there would be no war, so they were not anticipating any war, and they were just not ready. Plus, they did a big strategic mistakes, and the past is the past. What happened. But thanks God, Charles de Gaulle kept the face of France. Like, France didn't lose its face totally. A lot, though, with Pétain, dark sides, were almost Nazis friendly. It was really bad guys in the French governments of the Vichy. But Charles de Gaulle made France not lose totally its face and resist against Germany, like the Nazis. On the side of UK and America later, the Normandy, you know all of this. Okay, I get it. 1 point for America. But you should not forget, America was kind of humiliated by George Washington's army, was humiliated by the English, who were so much organized. So the continental troops got backed up a lot by the enemy of the enemy, who was the friend, by the French. So if America is independent, it depended a lot on the intervention of France as well. Not totally, of course, thanks God, you resisted your best against UK's colonialism. That's why you became an independent country. Oh, I'm doing this like Trump. I'm not Trumpist. But France backed up a lot, a lot. Lafayette, you know Lafayette, a lot the US. And grateful French would I'm a grateful French for what America did for France during the liberation and everything, even if France resisted as well. A lot of France, not all, some bad guys collaborated. But a grateful French is also telling the American to be grateful. It's just history. Just check history, okay? Check Lafayette. Thomas Jefferson, your guy, he came like he was very French friendly. Benjamin Franklin, of course, even went to France to kind of persuade King 20 years before took. But anyway, to support the US troops against UK. And it's kind of satisfying for some French guys to get a revenge on the 7 Years' War, that like how they lost Quebec in Canada and so on, to take a revenge about that, the death of Montcalm in Quebec, near Quebec City, in the Abraham Fields and all. They took their revenge by helping the Americans. You can watch The Patriot, even if it's not super historically accurate, because it's kind of diminishing the role of France in the help for this independence of the USA. But anyway, a French grateful guy is telling the Americans to also be grateful towards the French for that very beginning. Let's go back to the source, the making of America. Now things happened a lot, okay? And World War II, so both were grateful and so on. Now we can be allies, and we are allies. Normally the French are the oldest allies of the Americans. Let's remind this. And later, come on, the Statue of the Liberty. It comes from France. French loved America. Same way many Americans love France. It's so pity it's turning like this. So pity. Almost the Statue of Liberty wants to swim back to France. I think a South Park is making an episode about this. That's gonna be very interesting. And anyway, now we like witnessing giant tensions. And also one more thing for the North Pole case. America, just I'm talking to Trump, maybe, okay. You have Alaska. Alaska is enough. You can reach with the few miles, like 100 miles, even more of sovereignty into your territory. You can reach almost the North Pole. North Pole is disputed. It's a classic between Russia, America, Canada, America through the Alaska. It belongs to America. Was bought from the Russians, okay? Canada and the European Union with this Danish case. You want the European Union to be out of that case. But anyway, there's Svalbard Island, a place where I've been also. Very small island in the east of Greenland. It's quite cold. It was minus 25 in beginning of January with a lot of polar bears and everything, and it belongs to Norway. But Norway is not the European Union. That's gonna be also Norway has something to say about the North Pole as well. It's a classic. Let's keep it this way. And okay, there are a lot of things we may not know, but that's tricky. That there may be a Cold War, not between the West and the East. I mean, the East in the very global way. I would have said like the ex-communist, like the communist, and now the ex-communist Russia. But between the West and the West. The new world and the old world, still West, the West, the values of the West. There's so much to federate about. I think that's very interesting values from America, more positive thinking, entrepreneurship, and so on. As much as, of course, we can talk for hours about this, the values of the West in general, with rationality, the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, all this very interesting stuff. You can see from philosophy, the Western philosophy, the rise of sciences and so on. There's so much to say. We're gonna talk about that. But it's kind of pity. There may be a strange Cold War between the West and the West. And of course, I mean, China, Russia, they're loving it. But let's see. And I hope it's not going to happen, because then all trust would be lost. And of course, I'm very aware of the embarrassment of many Americans about what's going on there. I know they're quite patriotic. I didn't say nationalist. Some of them may be nationalistic, which is a Charles de Gaulle said, nationalism is when you hate the countries of others, while patriotism is when you love your country. So I wish America to be patriots, good. But if they're like too patriot in the name of the love of their country, thinking they must be right, we must be right, we need to attack Greenland and we invade and we're the strongest and we can flex our muscles and we have so much nuclear weapons, even if they have some, we don't care. Let's all destroy each other in the name of some lands. I hope they're not gonna follow such a path, of course. But I'm very glad to see many Americans criticizing Trump. So this critical thinking is a very important thing. It's still here. It's good. So I count on such Americans. And of course, there will be the Congress and all of these things. Okay, let's be positive. Let's be positive. Okay.